So today's episode, I think we introduced it on the last one actually briefly. There we go, Morgan's. Should we get Tom to do the cutting?
Yeah, we'll get Tom to do the podcast. I'll be the co-host.
Yeah, you can be the co-host this one. So this episode, Morgan, we are covering off. Sorry, it's dropped out.
That's a pretty nice studio, this.
It's lovely, isn't it?
Yeah, delightful.
Now everyone can see how much you look like a very mature Daniel Radcliffe.
It's the glasses.
Yeah. You are very good looking.
Oh, thanks. So are you. Very, well-trimmed beard.
So don't be a busy idiot. You've been replaced, mate.
Hey, you look pretty good on camera there, Morgan.
He does, yeah. We were just saying, very charismatic. Because you've got your own podcast as well, haven't you?
I do, yeah.
Because what's
the travel?
The travel one, yeah.
Yeah, the Travel Squadcast.
Travels, because I've watched an episode of it, and there's you've done a few like shorter episodes where you come and sit down, Tom. Sit down. Yeah.
Come on in.
Yeah. But Morgan, you've done a couple of episodes where you're on the boat, I think, and travelling.
Yeah. Right.
And you know what? You have the major issue of the fact that as soon as you start thinking, are the cameras recording, is the audio right? And then you've got to think about your questions. Your temperature starts to rise. And then you're sat in the direct sun because you want the good lighting. And then you start thinking, oh, fucking hell, I'm sweating. And yeah, the stress level is high. And so I thought, bloody hell, I'll start a studio where I take all the stress away from people and I keep the temperature at a good level, and it certainly makes it easier to talk.
The thing with editing though as well is like you could do the travel podcast from this setting, and then you can edit in great clips that you've shot while you've been traveling.
Absolutely. The last podcast I actually did in the studio, and I'm looking to try and get a lot more based in the studio.
Yeah, it's just easier for you, and then I don't know if you. So Morgan's a co-host on a travel podcast.
Oh no,
that he shoots in here as well.
Right, cool.
It's a company that you work with, isn't it, Morgan? And you
yes,
go and shoot all their content for them globally, which is why he's off jet setting all the time.
Jet setting? Where's he going now?
I am jet setting. I'm off to France on Saturday.
So you're off to France?
Yeah, Alpe d'Huez to go skiing.
Skiing? It'd be good to... he's coming.
Sorry, Morgan, I just walloped it.
Yeah. It'd be good to... go on a little skiing trip and record a podcast.
Yeah. Something I really want to do. I want to get the kids into it. Like,
have you ever been skiing?
I've been skiing twice and loved both times. One when I was at school, one probably 5-6 years ago, whatever. But I just think like great activity. You like the food you get after drink it, après they call it, don't they, on the drinks and stuff like that. And I just think it's just brilliant. Active holiday, something like that. It's fantastic.
It's quite expensive.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just me being tight, but
I think I agree.
I've been skiing once when I was a teenager in Italy, and I absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
But there's a lady I know that they've just been on a skiing holiday, and I think it's her daughter's broke a hip.
Yeah. Yes.
So it's like, I think she's all right, but like it's just cost and then risk.
Yeah. Hannah's mum, when they were skiing, she doesn't ski anymore because of this. She was flying down, and then she had an accident, went straight into like one of like there's restaurants all the way down the slopes, stuff like a log cabin type thing. Split her head open, had to have her headlight stapled back together, airlifted off, all that sort of stuff. So she's not skied since.
Yeah, I think walking holidays.
Well, you can, when the snow's not there, people do go and walk the mountains, don't they? So,
but that's the thing, though. Like humans, we're attracted to it's that adrenaline.
Yeah.
That dopamine. Mm-hmm. Skiing is beautiful and amazing, but it's like,
yeah, comes with an element of danger.
Yeah, and I suspect if I got into it, I'd be like into it.
Yeah, you'd be like, I want to go 3 times a year, 4 times a year. Yeah.
Exactly.
And it'd be expensive.
And then the probability of permanent injury and death increases.
Oh, yeah. Exponentially. It will do.
Yeah. No, definitely. It's an interesting sport because I think a lot of business owners end up doing skiing or sailing and stuff like that because they're kind of like premium hobbies.
Yeah.
But like going back to business owners and like protecting your business, and this is just an observation I've made.
Yeah.
Sometimes you've got business owners that like business is going okay, it's a bit flat, but they're taking money out of the business all the time.
Yeah.
And it's like you need to leave the cash in, and they're taking the money out and then going skiing.
Yeah.
Like, there's one guy, I don't know him particularly well, but like I know him from a distance, and like his business is struggling, like failing, and he's off going skiing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah, why are you doing that? Get back in your business and sort it out.
Sort it out, like, and like maybe don't spend your money, like you've not got cash flow is challenging. Well, don't go skiing.
Yeah, don't go on that 4 or 5 grand skiing.
I can say that because I don't particularly like the guy, and he doesn't.
You have to fill me in.
I've got something controversial to add.
Go on.
And that is, I would say one of the things that I can actually put a lot of my business down to is building a perception of success, which has then actually brought success. And so I've gone on a lot of cost-effective trips, and I've filmed things when I've not actually worked for any company, produced a lot of content, and basically I've shown an image of success. People then go, wow, you're successful, you must be good at what you're doing. Obviously I'm producing good content as well, but I'm also explaining that I'm doing X, Y, and Z. You know, our passion projects are phrased in a way that they are, they are projects that I'm getting paid for. And eventually people start seeing so much good stuff, and they see that you're traveling, presumably because your business is going well. And then they're going, well, I'll employ this person. And so it is a balance, but if you use a trip right, and you can show stuff on social media in the correct way. For example, if you actually are going on a ski trip, but you decide to film 25 videos of you on the ski lift, explaining something within your niche that's then posted on LinkedIn, that could be a very productive way to show success. And so therefore maybe a supplier treats you slightly differently. But I agree, if your cash flow is tight, you've got to be cautious.
Well, what is the definition of success?
That is a good question.
Because what Morgan's describing there, like I do agree with him. I think it's a very, especially in modern day social, and I get completely why you've done it, Morgan. I'm not criticising you, but like it's interesting that today's society, the measure of success is like that lifestyle of travel, and it is to a certain degree, it is. But actually, like as you get that financial success in your life. Like we're in a very fortunate position. I mean, don't get me wrong, we've worked very hard, risked everything on multiple occasions. You get to a very comfortable stage. Actually, now I don't really measure success by. Actually, to be fair to Morgan, maybe like where we're at there is like success by your experience and life experience, and like going off and seeing places and all this. So it's like this. What is success? Like, how does it work? I think we touched on it in episode 1 of the podcast. But yeah, I spend a lot of time thinking about kind of like, what do I want? What does it look like when it's finished?
Yeah.
Like, what does that success look like? And the definition of success alters to the person, but then also it changes over time. So Morgan, that's really interesting. You talk about success there a little bit, and like something I've been thinking a lot about is like the perception of success in society, like this kind of thing of like how success is perceived by other people, but how you measure your own success, and actually how it evolves over time. So you may have a goal, or you may set yourself a target, which is like, then when you hit it, you're like, I've reached success. Or like you may think that certain images, travel and all the rest of it is successful. What does actually success mean? And it evolves and it has different meanings. I think today's society, it's a little bit kind of like borderline, almost toxic to a certain extent, that success is measured by material things. But then at the same time, like we're in business, and a really useful tactic is like following society in a certain degree. So like like success is measured by wealth to a certain extent, and like how do people show wealth? Well, they show it by Rolexes, travel, cars, houses, material things. It's just, and like we've achieved I would say, like financial success now. And don't get me wrong, we're not very, very wealthy people, but we're comfortable. But that shit, it doesn't appeal to me anymore.
I think it's starting to be, in terms of like what's universal success. I think you can actually see the way that success is perceived just on social media by actually if somebody looks happy but they're doing different things. Like you see people in a bath, like an ice bath, but they're smiling and happy, you're going to feel like, well, this person's kind of, they've got it. Whereas it's when you see it's the lack of posts, or the posts where people aren't smiling and happy, where you're thinking, well, maybe that person isn't successful. I mean, I see posts of people having an absolute blast of a time dancing in McDonald's, and I'm like, you know what? If they're smiling, they're having fun, like that's a form of success.
I think we're actually, in today's society, we're addicted to dopamine. And these kind of like kind of materialistic lifestyles that we live, like actually if you shave your life back and go and live and I'm not saying that's something I want to do, but go and live in a log cabin in the woods and desensitize yourself to society and material things, you probably end up living a much happier life.
You'd be a happier person.
But yeah, anyway, I mean, to be honest, something doesn't feel right on this episode.
No, you're right. Something's off in it. Something feels like it's missing.
Something should be here. Oh, wait a minute. We're missing our third member of the podcast.
Our special guest was missing. I thought something was a little
Rachel, bless you.
Let's get her back
there we are, Our biggest shareholder in the business. She makes the most money.
Small rotation, perfect.
There we go. Is that good? We can see her happy face.
I wonder if she is happy, you know.
I think she is, bless her. I think I feel for her personally because she's trying to do the best job she can. She's just got slightly different economic opinions than other people. But yeah, she's making life really enjoyable for us at the moment. Because this podcast, when will this be coming out? Because we've got quite a few filmed now, haven't we, Morgan? This will be in April, won't it? By the time it comes out, it'll be like end of April.
This is going to be way down the line.
April, maybe even early May.
Yeah, we're going to be releasing
7 weeks ahead. We're filming now.
Yeah, so we're getting on top of it, which is really
which
nice.
Means like me and Tom can go off and, on the note of success, go to the
skiing.
Maldives. Skiing. I would take that Ferrari out for a test drive.
I'm sure we will do that. More like Malthra, we're both going there.
Malthra, ironically, that is where
we both go, don't we?
Yeah, like you love Malthra.
Yeah.
My mum has a house there.
Yeah.
So Malthra's on Anglesey. It's like the greyest, darkest place for 10 months of the year, and then it has 2 months of sunshine.
Yeah, glorious sunshine.
In fact, there's a famous story in Mulvera. Yeah. Like, Tom is an avid cliff fisherman.
Oh, yeah.
And he last summer we met up briefly in Mulvera.
Yeah, with the family, didn't we?
He took me and Arthur out just with the rods on the cliffs.
Yeah.
And Tom has been trying to catch some bass.
Sea bass for a
long time.
4 years.
I've never been fishing before.
No.
And we had the rods cast. We caught some like little fish,
little wrasse.
Just chuck them back in, obviously.
Yeah.
Anyway, Tom just like chatting away. He likes to talk. Wasn't paying any attention. His rod was twitching. I was on it like a hook. Grabbed his rod and pulled this massive sea bass out.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it.
Yeah,
I was like, he's had me. He's pipped me to the post.
Yeah. So his rod, I caught a sea bass first time.
I'm claiming 50% of that.
No, you're not.
I have.
No, you're not. It was all me. I don't know what you're talking about.
I believe it ended on the dinner plate, didn't it? In the
no comment.
No,
it was good.
See, I didn't even get to taste it either. I mean,
but yeah, Rachel Reeves, she's joined us again. Bless her. I think she's like our kind of, I suppose, podcast mascot to a certain extent.
Yeah, that can be the one.
Yeah, she can be our little mascot, Yeah, I do feel for her personally, but I think ultimately her economic decisions are causing a lot of challenge in the country at the moment.
Do you think she should be in the thumbnail of the video? Or will that put
Should we
get some eyes?
Let's clickbait her.
yeah, shall we?
Yeah.
Make it look like, well, she is technically a guest.
Yeah, she's there.
Yeah, we'll tag her on LinkedIn.
Actually, you know what? Maybe that's the thing. Maybe we need to just keep going on LinkedIn, tagging her until eventually.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of people doing that. You know?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think there's obviously two perspectives, and like on social media and the circles that we operate and exist within. Like, politics is so decisive at the moment. I think business owners are probably not enjoying Labour's tenure from an economic perspective at the moment. The Conservatives were not much better. I don't know what the alternatives are, but it's not a great period, but it feels very decisive.
Yeah.
And I see like LinkedIn, in one hand you've got a lot of business owners on there, and then in the other hand you've got a lot of employees, and some of the employees are like sticking to the defence of Labour and the economic policies. So it's quite decisive, really. I mean, obviously our target audience is business owners, so that's why we're kind of taking the mick out of it a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's not good. It's not good for us as a country. Like we need businesses need to be able to reinvest in themselves, and they can't do that if they're paying out 25, 30 or whatever the effective tax is, that the cash that's leaving the business on a quarterly and annualised basis. Like, we want to pay our staff more. Let us decide what our staff should earn. Like, it shouldn't be this like constant
let the
wage inflation and all the rest of it. It's just well, it's supply and demand ultimately.
Yeah.
If you've got a job role that there's a lot of people that are willing to do that job, then wages are not going to be as competitive.
No, they're going to get suppressed, aren't they?
Suppressed, But then it's like software engineers. Like, mate of mine, software engineer, like it's a high sought after job role. He's on a lot of money. Well, it's because not many people are in the market.
Yeah,
for
they've not got the skill set.
And there's a lot of people. So it's natural. You don't need to push. I mean, I think, I don't know. I don't agree with it, but I want people to earn. I pay my staff as much as I possibly can, but we're having to adjust things again in April this year. Which this podcast will be coming out, I think, early May, so we will have had a month of that and all the rest of it. Yeah. Do you think she's going to be around when this podcast goes live?
Probably. She probably will be.
Yeah, because I think Starmer is committed to her economic policies.
Yeah.
But my thing is, we've got 5 years of it, and this.
I don't think she'll last 5 years.
I don't know. So I think we touch on it every episode because it's such a big topic for us as business owners, and it's very unnerving. I think ultimately we have to, as business owners, kind of just deal with the circumstances that we're dealt with. But there's just a bit of humour having her on the podcast.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
I'm sure she'll appreciate it.
I do feel sorry for her personally. I don't like it, but ultimately she's gone for that job.
Yeah, she's chosen
it's
it.
Public office, do you know what I mean? We're not being... I mean, it'd be interesting if she did if she wanted to be hilarious, what she should do is she should do some Instagram content where she's reading mean tweets. Or go on LinkedIn and put mean posts that she's been tagged in. Yeah. That's what I would do if I was her. That would be hilarious.
It's like who is it? Is it EasyJet? When they're getting abused, they dive in and give it back, don't they?
I mean, on the previous episode, or one of the previous episodes about marketing, that's genius.
Yeah, they are game changers.
Just on it, like people being like just knobheads.
Yeah,
it's hilarious. Right, anyway, episode 12. Don't be a busy idiot. Work smart, not hard. Surprising British business fact.
Yeah.
So that's where we were at. We just had a little interlude on the podcast because the memory on one of the cameras filled up.
Yeah.
Because we film in 4K. That's quite heavy on data. I mean, what size memory cards do you have in the cameras, Morgan, out of interest?
I'm currently on 128 on the one that's kind of running
128
files.
gigabyte
SD
cards.
I've got 518 on the other one.
Yeah.
So
interesting.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's a guy, Daryl, that listens to the podcast, and he doesn't do what Morgan does. He does more like videography, and he did a photo shoot on our business on Sunday just gone, which is quite interesting.
Yeah.
But he's a bit of a camera nerd because I'm getting some equipment, Morgan, so I can do, like short form content.
Yeah.
For Instagram, because I want to do like we discussed it on our chat, but basically like on my iPhone you can get a screen for the back of your iPhone that connects via Bluetooth, and it'll show, so you can end up using the back camera rather than the front camera,
good,
because the back camera of the iPhone can shoot in 4K at quite a high frames per second, so you can get this little screen that flops on the back of your iPhone via the maglock, and then you can see yourself. So he sent me a couple of links. Like I need a light as well, to just get the lighting right. But I might delve into your knowledge a little bit there, Morgan, as well.
Yeah, I mean, I would always say, look, if you can shoot with the back camera, that's going to be the best result.
100%.
I'd always say try and use daylight, because as long as the sun is shining or it's a bright day, you're going to get decent lighting. and then really just make sure your phone's on 4K, and if you can use a 0.5, then when you hold it at arm's length, you will pretty much always be in the shot. And if somebody else is filming you, use 1x, because the 1x camera will always tend to have the highest resolution and the highest kind of color depth, because they make that 1x the kind of feature, and then all the other lenses are kind of just little extras, basically.
Well, that was some deep knowledge.
That was expertise there, isn't it?
Wow.
Yeah. It's interesting, though, isn't it? I mean,
I think it's like supplementary content that can help boost the algorithm a little bit, and like just something a bit different, because I think people that are seeing the content on, say, LinkedIn or Instagram, they're just getting the reels constantly of the podcast, and actually what we probably need to do is like focus a little bit more on personal brand, and so I can supplement this content with other content which help boost the podcast as well.
Matt, I've got a question for you, or an idea.
Here we go.
Why don't you talk to the camera right now and send a message to somebody who's scrolling past one of your shorts and you want them to stop and pay more attention?
Interesting.
Almost like you've caught them looking, thinking.
You're putting me on the spot on my own podcast. Okay, we'll do it.
You're putting somebody scrolling past one of your shorts on the spot.
Yeah. Stop. This is British Business with Matt Holland. You need to click my profile now, and you need to click the Linktree link, and you need to subscribe to the podcast, because this could change your business.
Amen to that.
Was that any good?
That's good. I like
great.
that. That's what I was going to say to you. Get them with a... and they'd be like, what's this about? Who's this ginger guy with a hat on coming at me?
It's interesting, because we're sat freestyling this podcast, but that makes me nervous.
No,
I struggle with doing stuff like
that.
But that's the type of stuff I need to do to kind of like get people, and we can cut that into a reel. That might be a good reel. That might be a bit beneficial. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, we need to crack on with the actual podcast. We've been just chatting.
Waffling on.
We've been freestyling. So don't be a busy idiot.
Yes.
So our British business fact, the surprising one for this, which is I quite like this one. So, did you know that Winston Churchill worked in bed every morning until noon, yet still led Britain through World War II?
Brilliant.
So, for context, Churchill refused to start his day with pointless meetings. Instead, he worked from his bed, dictating letters, making high-level decisions and strategizing. He understood that being busy doesn't mean being productive. He understood that being busy doesn't mean being productive. Yeah, that's correct. It's about focusing on what actually moves the needle.
Good point.
Yeah. No, it's very interesting that, and actually facilitating or enforcing your work to fit around your lifestyle a little bit.
Yeah.
So that was his comfort area, and he would have obviously have clarity in his decision making, fresh, awake in the morning.
Yeah.
I think at that point in his life, he probably had some health issues as well.
Probably,
because he was around. He was in. I'm sure was he in the Navy, Winston Churchill originally.
I believe so. Yeah.
He had quite an illustrious career prior to it, and I'm sure he was in the military as well. So the point there is, if the Prime Minister in wartime could prioritise like this, why do so many business owners waste time on the wrong things? This is a heavy hitter, this episode, I think. So, talking points like, do business owners confuse activity with productivity?
Definitely, 100%.
We definitely, I think sometimes, because we're humans at the end of the day, we have good performance days, and we have average performance days, and we have terrible performance days.
Yeah.
I look at myself sometimes, but I am ADHD, so and when I say I'm ADHD, I don't mean to say it because it's boasting. It's just, it is who I am. It is what I am.
Yeah.
Some people might be turned off by the concept of being open about it, but I think it just describes what I am. Sometimes I'm very hyper focused and and then sometimes I just can't concentrate. But what I've learned over time is to when I'm in hyper focus, double down on it.
Yeah, make the most of that
Drink
period.
some caffeine.
Fuel it.
Get wired.
Yeah.
And then if I'm not in the zone, just go.
Yeah, you've got to accept that and take a step back and go, I'm not in my most productive mode.
Yeah. For me, it's my extremes are worse than normal people or normal entrepreneurs. It's like, I mean, normal entrepreneurs. What is a normal entrepreneur? Yeah, exactly. But for someone like me, like I have to really listen to that. Like I have to know when I'm being productive and when I'm not being productive. And if I'm not being productive, right, we'll just go and watch telly or just So my schedule, like luckily because I'm in the position, I just kind of do what I want when I want to a certain extent. But the benefit gets and I will turn it on when I need to. Like if the business needs me to perform at a certain time of day, I'll be there. But if I'm not feeling it, I'm just doing day-to-day stuff. I'll just I'll finish up. I'm in a very fortunate position that I can do that.
You are, but you can perform optimally.
Yeah.
In those periods where you need to with a hyper focus and activity that requires.
Do you find yourself doing stuff that you shouldn't really be doing?
100%, and that's for me to reflect on and think, why am I even doing it? I'm doing it because the business needs me to do it, but taking a step back and looking at the bigger picture, I shouldn't be doing it. Like, someone else should take that off my plate, and then I can go and work on the next thing that I know is a real important task or a connection for growth or anything that will push the business forward. I shouldn't be doing too many operational things within the business because ultimately, it goes to myself and my brother James, captains of the ship. Like if we're operating heads down, we're not looking forward. We're not seeing what's coming over the hill or what's happening over there with our competitor. And you're just working in the business, aren't you?
Yeah, I think it's that classic thing of working in the business. You need to work on the business, not in the business, and all that stuff. And I think like time efficiency and like I think people we naturally always revert to our comfort zone.
Yes.
So like if you do like tasks in your business, you'll make an excuse that you need to do something because it's busy and I need to flex in and say pack orders or like if you're in a hospitality game, I need to sort of help customers because that's what you naturally and what you're doing is you're avoiding looking at that spreadsheet about the P&L or you're avoiding solving that technical problem or you're avoiding working on yourself. Like we're just humans. It's funny really, like our nature is comfort
by default. It's
like we're coded and designed to default to that to a certain degree, which is really interesting. And I think the human psychology of like the psychology of people, like understanding your own mind and what you're naturally pulled towards. Like we're creatures of habit as well. So you get back to your desk, you're like, right, all right, I'll go on my emails, scroll through my emails, zombie mode. Yeah. Before you know it, 2 hours ago, and you've replied to the easy emails first. You've flagged the more difficult replies. Honestly.
Have you been watching me? Have you?
Been speaking to James a lot. Thanks, James. You've been telling me a lot about Tom. No, I'm saying that and freestyling that like straight away because that's what I'm a little bit like. But what I've done is I've leveled up now to the point where I've got that self-awareness.
Yes, that's what you need.
Don't get me wrong, I have days where I'm like that and I'm doing stuff that I shouldn't be doing, but one of the big things is leveraging technology. I mentioned Superhuman AI, the email app that I use.
Yeah, you told me about
that is next level for me. That is really, it's just perfect for me. I get distracted easily, and like I found out, look, there's just too many buttons. Just all this BS going on, and I'm sure it's probably got the same functionality as Superhuman. But Superhuman, there's nothing you can click.
Right, okay.
It's just the email, and then there's like 3 buttons you can click, and then everything else is keyboard shortcuts. So it's just like having stuff and using software and playing to your kind of like skill set. You've got to do it. But like, I think the biggest thing from a perspective of like of the topic of the podcast, like kind of don't be a busy idiot. I think you become a busy idiot because time management, so you just default to the things that are easy and most comfortable. Yeah. Like going back to episode 4, like becoming uncomfortable. Like you need to spot when you're going, I'm just going to stick to this because that's what
I feel safe doing this.
No. Can't do it. The productivity myth. Why being busy is a trap. Why do business owners always feel overwhelmed? Why do people think working longer equals working smarter? I mean, I don't think that, ChatGPT, so I'm not sure what your point is there, but I think the concept of like why being busy is a trap, like I think when you are spending, like, there's times in our business careers where we've had to double down and go, right, I'm going to do an 80-hour week this week.
Yeah,
got to do it.
It's needed.
I'm having to operate, and you've got to do that at times. Like, we're a very seasonal business, so we get stuck in. But I think having the awareness that you don't make the best decisions when you're tired, or overworked, and I think this is what, like, you need to be. There's a big bit of fluff from the carpet on my shoe there. That's nice. But you, it's just that balance and kind of the awareness of what you're doing, I think, is really important. Like time management, but time efficiency, being efficient with your time. So if you're working loads of hours, what naturally happens is your output drops.
Yeah, it will do. Your
productivity. Like in terms of output per unit, so you're outputting in a single hour. So something I'm actively trying to do in my business is actually work less. Yeah. So when I'm sat at my laptop, I try to spend less time at my laptop, and that's, I suppose, my job role as well. Like I just have a lot of conversations with people, management and delegation,
and coaching them,
and what have you. So I'm at a different stage. But then if you're, say, running a coffee shop or a pub or something like that, you need to limit the percentage of your time you're spending behind the till.
Yes.
So that you're not overtired when you're actually doing the administration and management of the business.
Because that's not going to grow the business.
It's not going to grow the business. So you end up being a busy idiot because you're going, right, I'm working 45, 50 hours, serving people and doing it and operating, and then you're looking at your bottom line and going, well, I'm not making any money. Well, some people don't even look at the bottom line. They'll operate through the year at that, like that, and then they'll hit the end of the year and the account will go, well, you've not made any money. You've just turned cash this year. And then he's like, or she's like, well, so your personal tax remuneration, not made a profit, so you can't declare dividends.
Yeah. Something what? How disheartening is that? And
I've done that. Like, we've done that as a
it.
business. Do you know what I mean? You've been busy idiots. It's like, wait a minute. Well, actually, my job as an owner of a business is to make sure I'm looking at the numbers. So to ensure that I'm not being a busy idiot. Yeah. You need to be profitable. You need to be cash flow positive. The only way you have that awareness is if you are not operating 100% of your time in the day-to-day.
No, you need to be on a more analytical role.
Well,
looking at the data.
And ultimately, in the early days, you've got to do both.
Yeah, we'll all have to do that.
But you can only sustain that for so long before it then starts to damage the business and damage yourself as well, because you've got to have that awareness.
It's at the point you need to recognise, I need to take a step back now, put someone else in place to do the operating. They might even be better than you in terms of operating and serving customers and whatnot, and get looking at those numbers and where could the business go.
So for the listeners, ChatGPT has come up with the busy idiot checklist.
Oh yeah, go on. Oh, good God. Go on, are we doing this?
So hopefully no one gets bingo on this. So signs, you're working hard but not smart.
Go on.
You start the day reactive, emails, messages instead of proactive. You say yes to everything instead of focusing on high value tasks. Now I'm just going to touch on that. Remind me to touch on yes to everything in a minute. You micromanage instead of delegating. In fact, we're just going to respond to these because I think it's really important for
it's good points.
So yes to everything instead of focusing on high value tasks. Right. Work out what you pay yourself in your business on an annualized basis. If you don't pay yourself a salary, work it out and then divide that by the number of weeks in the year, the number of hours you work in it, and then you'll have what your hourly rate is.
Correct. Yeah.
If you're doing a task that you can pay someone else to do for less,
let them do it.
Let them do it. Do you know what I mean? Like, you shouldn't be doing everything.
No.
Like you need to manage that.
You can't scale if you're doing those menial tasks that you can even offshore some of them things.
Yeah, you should
outsource. Does not matter.
Yeah, you shouldn't be packing parcels. You shouldn't be making coffees. You should be running the shift at the thing. And like, if you've got two employees, you've got two employees. You're at different stages, obviously. But micromanaging instead of delegating, like I do both. Now, I actually think, and we kind of touched on it on people, but it's about follow-up. Micromanagement, you do need to micromanage people when systems are not working.
Yes.
And then it turns into delegation, and then it turns into delegating and follow-up.
Yeah.
So, but I do agree with that. Like, if you're micromanaging all of the time, busy idiot again.
Busy idiot, yeah.
Like, you need to set up a rule set for your employees to stick to.
Yeah.
Standard operating procedures. Get them go, right, crack on, and then it's about follow-up.
Yeah. keep reviewing it.
If you're just doing it and micromanaging it, well, like just being...
They're not going to learn either, are they?
They're not going to learn. They're not going to grow.
You're always that safety net.
You measure productivity by hours worked instead of results achieved.
Yeah. I mean, what do we all want at the end of the day? Results. It doesn't matter whether you put 1 hour or 10 hours in. Ultimately, it's the end result that you want.
Yeah. What's interesting, I think people should maybe go back and listen back to episode 7 and episode 2. So cash flow issues, like in relation to being a busy idiot.
Yeah.
Like, well, you get your cash flow issues because you're not looking at numbers.
Not looking at your numbers.
Like we're talking about. And then like episode 2 about Q1 planning, well, if you're operating too much, you're not going to have the time to plan. So this is where I think it's like it rounds off some of the episodes we've already covered, which is really nice. So like a takeaway from my end is like if you are constantly busy, rushed off your feet, you maybe need to take a step back and just be like, wait a minute.
Yeah. Why am I doing this?
Yeah. Like, I'm not making any money. I need, and actually, some of the time, it's actually right. You need to scale the business so that you can bring people in to do that.
Yeah.
So you need to then, well, you're only going to scale the business if you're working on marketing and not operating. So it's hard. It is hard.
Put the time in the right places. Yeah.
Delegation and automation, how to work less and achieve more.
Yeah. That's also very good. Automation, technology, obviously.
Yeah.
AI, as we spoke about with the email app that you've got there. Even ChatGPT that I know Morgan uses, I use to make things more efficient throughout the day in terms of admin tasks. It's just a brilliant bit of kit. And that wasn't around, 10 years ago. So different landscapes now. And we need to learn those softwares faster than anyone else.
I think I would struggle in a smaller business now because I've become, all I do is delegate and come up with ideas. So if I had to go back now, I mean, I think I'd probably do it.
You'd have to do it, wouldn't you?
I'd probably, and I do like change, so I'd probably adapt to it. But it would take me a week or two to kind of get out of the mindset of like, can you sort this for me? Oh, can you do this? And like, oh, right. Like yesterday, we had me, Mark and Robert had a meeting on SEO.
Okay.
And like we wrote down a list of actions and there was no actions for me.
Blank.
And Mark and Robert sat there like, this is a bit of a stitch up.
Yeah. Well,
but like Rob's learning more about SEO and Mark is an expert. I mean, I don't like, I'm a big believer in humility, but SEO is something that my knowledge is pretty sharp.
Yeah.
I was in a meeting yesterday with Black Lab Digital. Shout out to James. And James gave me a little compliment. It made me feel good about myself. He said, Matt, you are the most knowledgeable client we have.
Really? That's good.
On SEO.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's interesting. Well, it's interesting for two reasons, kind of off topic for the episode, but I'm a big believer in for you to manage a third party effectively, you need to be an expert.
Yeah.
Or you need to have a good foundation of knowledge to be able to then manage the third party.
Yeah.
So that's a skill that I knew nothing about SEO. I've taught myself.
Good.
Watch YouTube videos and things like that. So, but I've only been able to do that because I've had the right people in my business to free up time and or I've got this like, I never switch off, so I'm sat at night watching YouTube
researching,
videos.
looking at this, looking at that. Likewise with me, it's an addiction, isn't it?
I'm an addict. Yeah, there we are. So if you don't delegate, you drown in low value tasks.
Yeah, we've all done that.
And I think it's okay to do it some of the time, but you need to develop that awareness that you need to take a step back from the day to day of your business.
Yeah,
take time out, which we've talked about previous episodes, but like taking time out in relation to like being a busy idiot, like just assess and write down. Maybe like as you go through, like have a bit of a. Could you imagine if you were able to watch your last week back?
Yeah.
What percentage of the time in your business did you spend on things you shouldn't be doing?
Exactly, probably 50%. I'd be looking at it and shouting at myself, "What are you doing? Don't do that. Get someone else to do it."
Yeah.
You don't need to be doing it.
I think you've got to be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
I think that's what a lot of people aren't.
Yeah.
They're not honest with what they're doing, and they pretend that, oh no, I am.
Yeah.
But people just they if you're sat listening to this, right, and you're thinking about stuff that you do on a day-to-day basis, just be honest with yourself. There's no people genuinely, they lie to themselves.
Yeah.
They convince themselves that they're doing a good job.
Yeah.
By doing the coffee and or like packing parcels. you're an idiot.
Yeah. Do you hear that? You're an idiot.
You're an idiot.
Yeah.
Like, wake up. Like, you need to bring people in. Like, there's a certain moment where you need to operate. But like think if you're running a coffee shop and you've got 2 employees, systemize your day so that you're there for the peak hours operating from, say, for a coffee shop, depending on where you are, maybe 7 a.m. until 10:30 a.m. And then you leave your staff to run the shift so you can take a step back and look at the financials, check your numbers for the morning so far, assess or have it so, because a coffee shop's 7-day business. So
it is.
Like you're working probably 6 or 7 days a week if you've only got 2 employees. So make sure you're getting that 1 day off, hopefully.
Yes.
And then also a planning day and an organisation day or a couple of half days in there. Structure your week better.
Yeah.
That's like
pre-plan your week.
That's been a massive hack for me. In my team's diary now, I block days out.
Right. Okay, that's good.
It's a bit difficult for the team sometimes. Like I have my PT session on a Tuesday morning with Lucas. Shout out to Lucas.
Yeah.
He actually got the world record for high rocks.
Oh wow!
For his age category in the is it the doubles or whatever it's called? He's an absolute machine.
Beast. Yeah.
But the thing I really respect about him and admire about Lucas is like his grit and commitment. Like he is hustling. He's got his own business, obviously.
Yeah.
And he's like up at 5 a.m. in the gym at 6 a.m. running sessions, doing PT sessions. Not really kind of like he's just firing on all cylinders. Do you know what I mean? Like it's really impressive, really impressive. But the point with like him and like high rocks and like doing things like pushing yourself and growing, like you've got to constantly strive that. But on Tuesdays, it's like blocked out in my calendar, and like people can't book in stuff, so I'm protecting my time really carefully. I think that's really important. So this episode, like obviously there's a lot there. We've flown through bits and pieces. What are your main takeaway? Like if you could pick one point, something that you would kind of, if you were to assess your last 7 days, what kind of things will you take into the next 7 days and go, do you know what, I need to maybe deploy that, or I need to be a bit more critical of myself? Is there anything that kind of stand out from that chat?
Yeah. Ultimately, be spending time doing tasks that I should not be doing. I mean, I can... After this, when we get back to the office and whatnot, I'm going to make a list of what did I do last 7 days or last 5 working days. What should I not be doing? Yeah, and then look to pass that on to someone else to free that time up. I think it's key. Otherwise, there's no focus on the bigger picture.
It's the repetitive tasks that you're doing on a monthly or weekly basis that you shouldn't be doing that you can delegate out to your team.
Yeah, or automate.
Yeah, or automate. Automate's another big part of it. I think.
How about you? What do you think in your last week?
I think there's definitely things. For me, I am a bit of a micromanager. I think it's important at times, but I need to slowly give people more space.
Yeah.
But I'd say I'm getting to the point with certain people in the business where I can move off a little bit, and then just it's all about follow up.
Yeah.
I think that's important. I think structuring my diary. I went through a phase in probably October, November of really structuring my diary. I did it again in January. I need to go back to it again now.
Yeah.
I think structure to make sure I'm not doing things that I shouldn't be doing. I'm so busy that I don't really have much choice these days. I have there's just a lot kind of going on. So there isn't much idle time.
Yeah.
So I have to be efficient. And I'm not in the warehouse or doing anything like that anymore. So my job role is kind of like, it dictates to me that I'm working at that high level anyway.
Yeah, you're in the right zone, aren't you?
Yeah, I think for Robert and Sarah in our business, there's definitely stuff that they should now be thinking about passing on to their team members and passing down. And I think if you're listening to the podcast, have a think about like maybe doing what Tom said, like write down a couple of points listening to this, or like just on your notes on your phone. Just think about the last 7 days. Is there stuff that you could have passed on? Or if you're a sole trader, think about how you can automate things, and or what does that first member of staff role look like? What revenue do you need to scale the business to be able to afford that person, to then you can then focus on the business rather than working in it. I think that's really important. If you guys can make sure you're liking the episode, commenting on it, make sure you're subscribed and you're following. It's really, really helpful to us. And if you've made it this far, to the last moments of the episode. We really appreciate you. And I think maybe just comment in the comments about how, like, if there's anything in particular that you're doing too much of, or you like low value stuff that you're doing. I just think it's interesting. Share, read the comments, what other people have put down. It's really helpful. And we'll see you on the next one.
Yep, thank you very much.
Cheers, guys. Thank you. Cheers, Morgan.